are you on Tinder though?
Oh, I get an alert from there probably every other day, so I'll check on there sometimes and just see what's going down.
I say, hey Paul,
Hey, what's going on, guys?
going
Y-
well.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Yeah.
So
G'day, Paul.
Hey, nice to meet you, Ethan, Joseph.
yes,
I heard
yes.
good day. You're in Australia?
Yeah, I'm in Queensland, Australia right now, so it's morning, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. All right. I
In
got a
the
couple of
future.
tattoos from Australia.
Oh yeah, nice. Where did you get the tattoos?
I got this one in Perth, and I got some work done over here in
See,
Sydney.
that's definitely a masculine man saying Perth. See,
Oh yeah,
instead of path,
yeah, yeah,
path,
yeah.
path,
Path.
path.
Well, and Sydney's my hood, and Joe's pretty familiar with both those places, I believe. So
Oh,
I've now
okay.
I've now been to Path. We went there the last time about 2 years ago. So it is a lot bigger than I ever thought it was. I kind of thought it was a small little place on the side, but it's
because it's so far away from
yeah.
everything
Maybe
else,
that's
I think it's the most isolated major city in the
oh.
universe that
It
we
was
know
nice.
of.
I liked it. It is great. In fact, I even think about like northern Perth. Like you get like 20 minutes out of the city, and there's some great beachfront property you can get up there for pretty cheap. So
They had
Yeah, lots of
they had
shit.
really nice clubs and stuff there too. I had a good time in
Yeah,
Perth. I went to
well, there's a lot of
I was in Melbourne too, and there
sorry.
wasn't a lot going on in Melbourne though.
coffee
But
shops.
It's all grunge and the alternative movement in Melbourne. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
Welcome to the conversation where we unpack the wild, interconnected chaos shaping our world, including the population's decline and all the reasons for it. Your host, Joe Edgar and Ethan Krok. Today's guest, Paul Bauer, certified master life coach and NLP practitioner, is a multi time author and host of the Come On Man podcast and runs the website fixdeadbed.com, right? Focus
FixedDeadBedrooms.com. Yeah.
fixeddeadbedrooms.com. Thank you. Focused on empowering men to build masculine confidence. His focus comes from his own experiences, and he aims to help others with what he has learned. This is a fun conversation because Ethan and I were just striking this up. I took a hike. I do a hike usually every summer. We've done all of the Pacific Crest Trail in Oregon now, and we'll go for about 7 days. We do about 15 miles a day. And this time I was with my son. He is about to turn 21 or about to turn 20. Second year of college, I forget which age, one of those. But we're having a conversation. I'm trying to, and his uncle, who is divorced once, but many times single and loving it, and myself and then a friend of mine who's been married just once, and we're all trying to give him dating advice. And so
Ah,
as we went through this, we find like there were arguments both hands of like, well, here's good stuff, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I really don't know. And then some ways it's like, oh yeah, we do know. So this has come up quite a bit of time. This is where Ethan and I kind of started this conversation. So Paul, I am wondering, like, give us a little flavor from you're originally from Colorado?
I am, yeah, and I live in Colorado
Still.
now,
Oh no.
but
You in Denver
yeah,
area? My son's in Golden, so
not even close. No,
no.
I'm on the other side of the state. I'm a little bit closer to Utah in a small one horse town. I like to on my podcast. I like to joke and say that I live out in the cow pasture because literally there's cow pastures everywhere. There's no great place to meet women out here, and
Isn't
I
that
end
farmers.com or something like that? Isn't
Don't they have rodeos out
isn't
there,
that the
or
dating one for
what
farmers?
rodeos? What do they
if you
say?
go
How do
on
they say it over
if you
there?
go on farmersonly.com, you're only going to find cows, brother. That's is
Nice.
it is there are some
In New Zealand, it's sheep. In New Zealand, it's sheep.
Oh,
there
bugger.
there are some how do I say this politely? There's some hardy gals out here, some real thick hardy gals that can just really get in the muck with the cattle, and they're just not attractive women. So unfortunately, no. Farmers Only is not a very good place to meet women.
Gotcha. It's a great place to find a ranch hand, but not necessarily a mate. Gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and I got stuck out here. If you guys want to hear a little bit of my Batman origin
Please.
story, Yeah, I was married. I was married for 15 years. I was in the U.S. Navy. That's why I spent some time in Australia. And my second year being in the Navy, I went home on leave one time and I met my now ex-wife through mutual friends from like, my high school buddies. They were all going to college with her. And she and I ended up with this long distance relationship for about a year before I convinced her to move out to San Diego with me. And we knew each other in person probably about 3 months before we rushed to elope, because I had that traditional mindset of being a protector and a provider, and I wanted to make sure she was taken care of. And so, since I was taking her away from her support system, it was my duty as a man to make sure she was taken care of. And so I married her to get the military benefits, so that she would be well taken care of while I was on deployment, because I was getting ready to leave for 9 months. And so our
Now, was
first
she
year,
pregnant at the time or no?
no.
Okay. So this
No,
is
I
just
was
duty
just-
as a man.
I was just
duty as a man.
duty as a man, a protector and a provider, because that's what a man does, by God. And so, so we got married, and luckily, our first half of the marriage actually was pretty good. It was pretty good. We have 2 kids out of it. You mentioned was your son is in second year of college. My daughter, second year of college too. She's
Nice.
going out here to Colorado Mesa University. She's absolutely killing it now. My son, he just turned 16, so he's driving now. Great kids, but the last half of the marriage was just absolutely miserable, man. I was working like 17-hour days just to avoid going home, because I knew that if I came walking in the door, I was going to get earful about what I wasn't doing right, just nag. And I don't want to deal with that. I'd much rather just be at work. And so I'd work a lot. And then there were days where I just didn't like her so much that I would go in the garage and grab a cot and go sleep in my office, instead of going to bed and sleeping with her, because I just didn't want to be around her, right? But I never would have quit. I never would have filed for divorce. I never would have ended things, because I had the paradigm that you never give up. This is just how life is, right? There's so many guys out there that are just living lives of quiet desperation in marriages they hate, but they think, well, I made a commitment. This is how life's supposed to be. And so I don't know if you guys are familiar with Married with Children from the 90s, right? But we're all raised to basically be Al Bundy at this point and just be miserable shoe salesmen. Yeah. So that was
Like
me.
that's permanently etched in my brain. That's all.
Yeah. And so, so fast forward to 2013, she convinces me that we need to move back to Colorado because, we don't like California anymore and we should be closer to family. And I was like, yeah, screw California. I like my guns and whatever. And I feel like a political refugee. So yeah, let's go back to Colorado where it's a little more red state, And
Now
it's
she's from the same area you are, like the small town area, or did they meet
no.
at? Oh,
No,
I see.
she
A different
was
part
from,
of Denver.
She was from the Arvada area. I was from more of the Conifer Evergreen area,
Gotcha.
but both on the eastern slope. Sure, yeah. So we decided to move back out here. My parents were living over here where I'm at now, Western Slope. And so we move over here, but this was really just a part of her exit strategy. She had no support system in California, and she was being tactical. She was trying to get closer to family.
Played.
Yeah, I was. But yeah, and then another thing too, she was really studying the divorce laws and realized that if she filed as soon as we got back, she wouldn't get as much money. So she waited until January of 2014 when a new alimony law was kicking in to get the most amount of money she could possibly get. And so yes, come 2014, she drops that brick in my lap. Like most guys, I'm like, I didn't even see it coming, right? But in hindsight, all the signs were there.
I mean, what was it? Was it like, here's a card? Is this a sit down talk?
No, this was great. She, in
I'm
California,
thinking of like, you could make like a cake, and have like a surprise. They have like a reveal party?
Yeah, I wish it would have been that pleasant. It wasn't. It was a nightmare. What happened was, she had it in her mind, because there was all these negative news pieces in California about, spouses stealing children and running away because of a divorce or whatever and stuff. So she thought, oh, if I tell him I'm going to divorce him, he's going to take the kids and run. So what did she do? She took the kids and ran. And so what she did was she told me she was going to go visit her sister in the hospital. Her sister really was in the hospital at the time. And what she did was,
and your oldest would have been like 13 this time, or
not even? No, she
even.
was
Oh,
like
young. Okay.
8. I think she was like 8
Okay.
at the time. And so, so what happened was, at a family event, I went to some kind of family event. This was around New Year's. I went to go, my cousins and all that stuff, they all live out here. I went to that. And she goes, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to just, pack up some stuff to get ready to go to my sister's. She packed up all of her stuff. She packed up all the kids' stuff, put it all in the car. And she goes, hey, by the way, I'm going to take the kids with me. And this is something that she would do all the time. She would go on these little trips to go visit family. And I was like, yeah, fine, get out of here. Cause I didn't like her. So yeah, get out of here. And so she took the kids and left, and she called me from Denver, because that's where her sister was. And she goes,
oh no,
hey, I just, by the way, I packed up all the stuff. I took half the money from the sale of our house. I have the kids with me. I'm not coming back. And I was like, what's going on? Let's talk about this, whatever. And she goes, it's too late. On the way out of town, I already filed the papers where the sheriff should be coming next week to serve you.
wow.
And it was just like, oh my God, right? All of a sudden it was just blindsided. And then my biggest worry wasn't that she was divorcing me. It was, will I ever see my kids again? So luckily,
Paul.
Yeah. What's that?
Sorry, just back on that. When she said, you said that she took them away because she thought you were going to take them away. That happens so often. It's projection, right? It's classic projection. It's where, and I was accused of the same thing, right? That I was going to take my kids away from my wife, and it was really so she could take them away from me. But yeah, it's complete projection, and often you see it in politics a lot of the time. When a politician says the other person's going to do something, really they're telling you what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, that's fine.
But,
I think
I hear it all the time.
I think you're dead on accurate. And so I had to spend a lot of money to get her to come back. I had to rent her a separate house so that she would have a place to come back to. This was my attorney is like, dude, she has no money. She was a stay-at-home mom for the last however many years. She doesn't have any work. She doesn't have any means of income. So she has nowhere to stay, in order to come back. So you have to rent her house. So I spent a good 6 months living with my parents so I could rent her a house and have her have a place to stay. I would make sure there was some food on the table for her and all this kind of stuff. And so I was basically funding that lifestyle while we're going through the separation divorce process. It was pretty crappy. And then, staying with your parents always sucks, right? So just being with my parents and their negativity, they're all in my ear talking about what a conniving, like, can I cuss on your podcast?
How come you can't keep a family?
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't about me.
Sorry.
It was about how she was so evil, but they were, I don't know if I can cuss on your podcast at all, but, the B word, right? There's a lot of B word going around. And so they were always in my ear.
Worse later.
They were all in my ear talking about, oh, she's conniving, right? This is her evil plan, and you need to watch out for this. And I'll tell you what, when you're going through the divorce process, you don't need that kind of negativity going through your mind. You don't need people in your ears putting stuff in there that's not necessarily true, right? Like she wasn't.
It's hard enough.
She was just trying to get away, but she had no means of doing it, right? I don't necessarily blame her. I thought that her tactics sucked. But I can understand it, right, in hindsight. So having that negativity in my mind all the time was awful. It was toxic, and so I was like, I have to get out of this. So I went and rented my own house. Now I'm renting 2 houses, and I had to do that for like that first year of being separated until we got the final orders about 11 months later. And then after that, it was just a matter of me paying alimony and child support, and then she took care of whatever she was doing. So, I mean, I was still paying, right? But yeah, that's how it was. And then that whole 11 months, not having been on the dating circuit in 15 years, not having any practice, I just floundered, man. Plus, I was 50 pounds overweight, as most of us do when we get married. We just let ourselves go because we don't have to try anymore. We already got her, right? And so I was 50 pounds overweight, just having the worst time of my life on the dating circuit. And then I found myself in a relationship with a gal I call Red Pill Chick. And Red Pill Chick, I would say was a little bit of a chubby chaser, and she was super forward. She was basically like all over me on the first date. And I needed that because all these other women that I went on dates with at the
Now,
time.
Ethan, I just talked about, apparently the first date's the lie date. Everybody catfishes each other, and you're misleading on the
No,
first.
I didn't say everybody. I didn't say
Not
everybody.
everybody.
We were talking about relationship. If you're not into a relationship on the first date, you could be as honest as you want.
Oh,
I
good point.
see.
Good point. Yeah. So Red Pill Chick was super forward, which I needed because all the other chicks that I would meet up and go on dates with, they weren't interested in me because I was waiting for like a written invitation to go in for a kiss or make a move or do any kind of escalation or anything. And I was really being needy. I was always trying to make every girl my girlfriend, that kind of thing.
And this is a Matrix reference, the red pill. I mean, you're just jumping right into it,
and
right?
that is the reference. But when I'm talking about red pill, we're talking about intersexual dynamics, really, and that came out of the reference of what is reality versus what is fantasy, right? And so the concept of blue pill in the red pill praxeology
Viagra.
is Viagra. Yeah, no,
I thought the blue pill was Viagra.
no, but in the context of intersexual
We need a sponsor
dynamics,
right now. You can get the red pill. Order here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the blue pill in context of intersexual dynamics is sort of the Disney fairy tale that it's happy wife, happy life. It's give girls flowers and chocolates and they'll love you. And if you do more around the house, your wife is going to put out more, that kind of stupid stuff that just doesn't work. And the red pill, they actually took a deep dive in evolutionary psychology, like what actually drives women's sexual desire and that kind of stuff. And then pickup artists were doing a bunch of things and they sort of matched it all together. And we came up with the red pill praxeology. And once I started learning that kind of stuff, it was a complete game changer. But it wasn't until after that relationship with Red Pill Chick, that's why I call her that, is that I had this epiphany that I was doing something that wasn't working with women, because the two biggest relationships in my life ended up failing. And then every girl I'd go on a date with after just would fizzle out after like 2 or 3 dates. And I was like, I'm repelling women. What am I doing wrong here? And so I did a deep dive into this stuff and I found that everything I thought I knew about women was wrong. And when I started applying this stuff, it's almost like you can predict what's going to happen, and just based on women's behavior and stuff like that. It's really fascinating.
I mean, it is an interesting concept because I've kind of played in. I do have, a couple of perspectives after reading and listening. This dominance, or what do you refer to it?
Dominant masculine presence.
I can't even say it. That's how bad I am, apparently. I would definitely have to think through my own. I think through these popular Instagram or TikTok videos that are going around. And there's 2 of them that crack me up every time. One of them is where they videotape like a man when he sees his wife, and and there's a guy who's just like bubbling around like an idiot, and he sees his wife like, hey, and then he's like always smiling and waving or doing something corny. And then they show the opposite of when a woman surprisingly sees her husband, and they show her immediately, she's like whatever, and then she sees it, it's like scowl. It's like this constant scowl. I was like, yeah, that's how it is. And then the other one that cracks me up is, if you, it's all these men and women, they're married couples at a grocery store, and the wife is like putting together a bag of fruit of some kind. And so the man is filming and he's grabbing one of the fruits that she has already chosen and handing it back to her. And she'll inspect it and then be like, no.
Yeah. It's not the one that you give me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's stuff she already picked, but because he chose it, she's no longer going to pick it. So these 2 kind of videos, I think, kind of sum up what I would say. Yeah, that's most marriages. And for me, I would say if I had to really define myself, I probably am beta. I have to run companies during the day. I'm like, I do not want to pick which restaurant. I don't want to pick anything. I'm like, I have zero desire to go and be in a dominant presence. And I had to think through just in time, haven't women had a long history of being somewhat dominant in a different manner? And by that, I mean even seductive. I mean, even the Bible pulls out a seductive story for Eve in the beginning. So haven't we always been played as men? And isn't that somewhat their character in the same fashion?
No, so what I would say is this: men are the idealists, and women are the opportunists. And so, for men, the fantasy of love and being Prince Charming and rescuing the princess, and that's why when you see these videos of guys looking at their wives, like they still love their wives because the guys are just they have probably the closest thing to unconditional love, right? But women, because they're opportunists, they really only love men for what they provide. And so if you're not providing what they really need, then they start developing a lot of resentment and stuff like that. So yeah,
And this
you
is
would
the start of your theory around hypergamy, right?
um well, I mean, hypergamy is a little bit different, but it plays into it for sure. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, when you look at like Adam and Eve and stuff like that, she was sort of the one that corrupted him, and she wanted him to do this. And the sin, the world's first sin wasn't eating the apple. It was Adam listening to his wife. And it ruined humanity for the rest of all of eternity, right? So now we're paying for it for the rest. If you're a
That
religious
damn
guy.
snake. Be careful.
Yeah. So, but what I would say is probably since the '60s, right? The feminist women's empowerment sort of movement, which is a good thing. Like, don't get me wrong. I think equality is a great thing, but it doesn't really work well in intersexual relationships between men and women. It just doesn't work well. And the thing is for the last several decades, we've been trying this egalitarian equal partnership thing, right? We call each other partners, right? Oh, she's my partner. He's my partner. And the thing is that for men, when we think that she's our equal partner, we think, oh, well, she's going to take an equal burden, and she doesn't. And the thing is that when we want her buy-in on things, right? So when it comes to dinner, I don't want to make the decisions on where we go to dinner. If you don't make the decision and you go to, hey, honey, where do you want to go? Because I don't really care. And so if you just pick a place, we know that you're going to be happy because we have this happy wife, happy life paradigm. Well, she doesn't want to make decisions either because women suck at making decisions. Like she doesn't even know what shoes she's going to wear today. Right? Women suck at making decisions. And even the most bossy of boss babes, when they come home from work, they don't want to make decisions either. So what do? They throw that back on your lap. And then when you don't make a decision, now everyone's frustrated. Okay. And so what I teach guys is just make a place, just make a decision. Okay. So if you don't care where you eat, then it doesn't matter what you pick. Okay. So just pick a place, and I guarantee she's just going to go, okay, yeah, that sounds great, because she just wants to show up looking hot and relax into her feminine. But we don't let them do that because we're trying to make them make all the decisions because we want their buy-in on stuff. And when we do that, she's not an equal partner now. Now she's the leader of the relationship, and she doesn't want to be there. She thinks you should be doing that. And so now a resentment builds. And that's why she scowls at you when you're at the supermarket. Now she doesn't trust your decisions to pick the apples. It's because you've been deferring to her authority for so long, she doesn't trust your leadership anymore.
So let's go back to some of these gender roles that have changed. The feminine mystique and women's liberation that kind of moved in the '60s and where they are now. There was an interesting stat that my mind was blown that 23%, almost 24% of Gen Z consider themselves to be somewhere along the sexual spectrum, with almost 50% of that saying they're bisexual, compared to our generation. Any older generation, it's more around 5% to be 25. So to increase by that amount is so strange. And there has been a lot of things. I mean, I think when your divorce happened, you had an 8-year-old and what'd you say, a 4-year-old?
Don't make me do math, man.
I think you had an 8 and a 4-year-old. Now, one thing,
my son was about 4. Yeah.
It sounds like the beginning of your marriage was great. The second half you said wasn't so great, but I did do some quick math, and you had kids towards the second half of your marriage. So you would have been married about 6 years, and you had your first kid. Did that play into it all?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, a lot of head butting went along because she had certain ideas of how kids should be raised, and I had different ideas. And her, what I always found fascinating about that was her family was completely dysfunctional. Her mom, her dad used to beat her mom Her mom was a complete avoidant. Her mom, they both had substance abuse problems, but she thought that the way her parents raised her was the best way, and we should raise our kids this way. And I was like, yeah, but my parents are still together, so and they don't have these problems. My dad's never beat my mom, like all this kind of stuff. I'm like, are you sure your parents are the best model? But the thing is that we learn parenting and relationships from our parents, don't we? So we think that how we were raised, that's normal, and that's how we should raise our kids. And that's why a lot of toxic families create toxic future family members, right? And it's just a vicious cycle. It's because same kind of thing. So luckily, when we got divorced, because we had 50-50 parenting time, I didn't have to argue with her anymore. I could instill my values in my kids on the weeks that I had my kids. And
you were a single dad through this time, right? So I mean, in some regards, that's happening more and more. 50% of marriages will end in divorce, and so there's a lot more, single parents. And so, I mean, more and more men are taking on what were traditionally female roles, and many women are taking on what were traditional male roles. Do you think that plays into some of the, I guess, mix up in long-term marriages as far as more masculine and feminine, existence?
I do. Well, I mean, it's also not like, let's say that people didn't get divorced, right? And they still stayed together, and it wasn't a matter of being single parent households. Now you have mom not in the household anymore. She's out at work, and dad's out at work. And then your kids are being raised by teachers and stuff like that. And so when you have both people working, you do have to develop, sort of divvy up the household duties, don't you? Otherwise, it's just not fair.
I hate to play into my beta, but I cook and clean.
Yeah,
I work from home, but yeah, I'm definitely my own housewife.
Yeah, and so that's, and I wouldn't look at it that way. That's just, you would have to do that, right? Otherwise, what are you going to do? Starve to death, right? So you're just doing what you got to do. I wouldn't necessarily look at it that way, but yeah,
He's being so nice, Ethan. I was expecting a little throwback.
Yeah, what are you? You being such a beta male? God, a real man,
exactly.
A real man orders
Ethan
Uber
says it all the
Eats.
time, so that you're.
Yeah, no.
I think the big problem is. I think the big problem is, though, too, is maybe people aren't honest about sexuality and maybe even the sexual experience, right? Because it's got to be separate from the relationship in some degree. Because at least in what you're saying as well, I like the reason why the good guy never gets the girl is because being sexual is about either being dominant or submissive. And when I'm with someone sexually, they're submissive, right? And like the more dominant I could be, the more pleasure they get out of that. That's just how it is. And I didn't get that.
All of a sudden, I see a whole side. This is the bondage that we're talking about. This.
No,
Ethan's got whips. Bondage,
it's just that naturally. You look at. Have you ever watched the Nature Channel? Do you have Discovery in wherever?
Discovery.
Anyway,
yeah.
All the animals that I've ever seen. Mating, the male is always dominating the female, and they're, most of them are mammals like we are. And I think it's just nature that in that act, it's like
black widows eat the male.
I hear a lot of mothers say that giving birth is almost like having an orgasm during sex sometimes, right? And I think it's because it's a similar situation. They're being completely submissive. And they're having to let nature take its course, right? And I think that's part of the sexual act. And so maybe in the relationship, maybe there is these alpha women that need these beta males, but they need these beta males to be the beta in bed, right? They need them to take control when it comes to that, because that's like naturally that's how it works.
Well,
we got to get Ethan on that farmers.com. Find him a
hardy gal.
I'm too busy.
Find out how you come.
Sorry, farmer
Submissive
girls.
Ethan will come out.
If you come to Queensland, you can come hang out. But dude, nah.
Well, it comes down to polarity, right? You need to have any relationship really, in order for it to survive, needs to have a masculine and feminine. There are very masculine women that probably do very well with more feminine men. I think that's probably a minority type situation. But if you look at lesbian relationships, if you look at gay relationships, there's always like a top and a bottom. There's always a butch and a femme, right? There's always a polarity going on, right? So you do need someone who's a little bit more dominant and one that's a little bit more submissive. And I would say a vast majority of men and women, women want their man to be a little bit more dominant, and she'll test you to see if you really are that dominant guy. We call these fitness tests or frame checks or whatever. And a lot of guys are failing this stuff. And we're also raised to be nice guys. We're raised to be like, oh no, women don't want a dominant man. They want a nice man. They want a man to make love to her. And it's this sweet lovemaking experience. It's like, no, there's a reason why 50 Shades of Grey sold hundreds of millions of copies worldwide. It's because women were craving that crazy dominance in the bedroom. If you ever read the book, a book that will absolutely blow your guys' minds, okay? It was written by a woman. It's called
Wait, women can write books?
Apparently.
My mind is blown.
No, there's a book.
Shame.
It was written in the 60s, and it was called My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday. It's the most disgusting book I've ever read in my life. And what it's also very eye-opening, right?
I'm ordering it as we speak.
Right?
No, it will absolutely blow your mind. So what Nancy did was she wanted to write a book about women's fantasies, and she wanted to interview thousands of women across the country and really get their fantasies, written down so that people could really see what women's sexuality really was. Okay, because women have been suppressed, right? Women are judged by their sexual partners. And so we've had this whole sexual liberation movement. And now we just have women just, sleeping around like crazy. And we just got slutty sleuths out there everywhere, right? But back in the 60s, women would hide that stuff. They were very, very quiet about it. And Nancy was at dinner with this guy and his wife, and she was explaining to him her idea for the book. And the husband goes, "A book about women's fantasies? Women don't have fantasies, do you, honey?" And the wife didn't want to, be judged by her husband. So she goes, "Oh no, of course not. That's a ridiculous idea." So what Nancy had to do was make everything anonymous. Okay, I want you guys to write in anonymously. I'm not going to use your name. And then when women realized that no one knew who they were and they could be anonymous, they just opened up and they had some of the most filthy stories. And I'm not just talking about whips and chains and fun stuff like that. I'm talking about these women were having fantasies about animals. They were having fantasies about children. They were having just really dark, dirty fantasies that women would really turn them on and stuff like that. And this book just opened the floodgates. So anytime I'm talking about red pill stuff and I'm talking about what really turns women on in the bedroom and all this kind of stuff, you always get a lot of pushback from people thinking, no, they don't. Women don't want that. They want this sweet lovemaking. It's like, no, a vast majority of them want to be absolutely ravaged in the bedroom, and it's just an eye-opening experience. And when I was out on the dating circuit after my divorce and after Red Pill Chick, and I was studying the stuff and spinning plates, I was dating multiple women and stuff like this. I found pulling women's hair, choking them and stuff like that while you were in the middle of having sex. Not trying to kill them or anything, but just that dominant move of putting your hand on their throat.
Dude.
They loved it. It just really turned them on. They were really into that sort of thing. And it just blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe what planet I landed on after my divorce and stuff. Cause I was always raised that, you make sweet love to women and it's all just about sweet emotions and stuff. And it's not. It's not.
Are you on good terms with your ex now?
Yeah, we get along okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're cordial with each other. If we, my son was in track last year, and so we would meet up, and I'd hang out with her during track meets, and we'd cheer for him and stuff like that. But after it was over, I was like, all right, peace.
Gotcha. But not close enough to have an open conversation of here's what went wrong or here's
we're not chummy chum cheroos. No,
gotcha.
Not at all.
I wonder something else you have written about. Well, and I absolutely agree. I think. Please
Joe,
go. Yeah.
Before we move on, can I just share an experience with Paul and you, just to kind of confirm what Paul's saying? Is that in my dating experience, I've had.
Is it going to be another fantasy explanation? I could lean back and just.
It might be one of your fantasies, but I've had a couple of relationships not work out because I was afraid to hit them in the bedroom. They wanted, like, when I say hit them, not bash them, but they wanted me to smack them. And like, you know, I could do a little tap, you know, on the back, but they wanted me to spank them, or use whips or something else. And for me, like, I have PTSD about this because I used to get beat by my ex-wife. So, and I'm afraid my ex-wife actually claimed that I was the abusive one in the courtroom. So I was afraid of hitting these girls like they wanted, they were asking me to, because I was afraid that would come back on me. I don't want to leave a bruise on a woman, you know, like.
Yeah, I don't blame
and,
you.
know,
Yeah.
Some of these girls, this is what they want.
Yeah, you know who first tipped me off on this? It was really before I started studying this material, but I was dating a female cop out of Fruita, Colorado, and
Handcuffs.
yeah, she was totally
Sounds
into it
hot.
because
Really hot.
on her day-to-day job, she had to be the dominant one, right? She had to like put guys in handcuffs. She had to get in scuffles, and so when she was at home, she wanted to be the submissive one and have that kind of stuff done to her. And so she was into being tied up. She was into, and I was like, this is nuts. I didn't think women really like this sort of thing. And then I did it with the next girl I dated, and they were all into it. And I was like, okay, this is weird. So then the next one, they're all into it. And I'm like, okay, this is mind blowing. I'm not, I'm just like you, Ethan. I'm not into like smacking them around. I'll slap them on the ass.
No.
I'll pull their hair a little bit, maybe put my hand around their throat, but I'm not trying to hurt them,
Now, is that long term? Because couldn't this be some of that projection that Ethan was talking about before? Like maybe in the first couple of dates that they're putting on that they want to be.
I don't know. I'm going
in
on
this
5
position,
years.
or
I'm going on 5 years
okay,
with my I'm going on 5 years with my girl. I call her Nurse Chick. She's still into it 5 years later.
Wow,
she likes it. Yeah.
I just know from my experience, I have to be more selfish. Like, when in my marriage, like they always tried to say, be like, be everything that they teach betas, but be less selfish, right? Be less selfish. But in the bedroom, you have to be selfish. If you're less selfish, she's waiting for you to work out what to do. And you're like, what do you want me to do, honey? Right? That's not how it works. You've got to do what you want. If you do what you want and you take what you want, she's going to get off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's feeling valued. She's feeling used. She's feeling, pretty, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But in my experience, the more selfish I am, the better experience they have.
It goes against everything we've been taught as nice guys growing up. It's fascinating. And so when I'm talking about this stuff, I often tell guys, don't take my word for it. Try it out. Because if you just take my word for it, I don't know, you might not believe it, right? You'll be like, that's nonsense. But if you go try it out yourself and you actually experience it, you're like, holy crap.
You're going to see it. I'm going to call in tomorrow. I'm going to have like 2 black eyes. And I was like, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Taking a week off.
One of the things you put out there, I think that resonates well is, after people are married, they get in a long-term relationship, they kind of let themselves go. And, just losing weight in and of itself puts you in the top 25%. So there is a physical part of this. And so I definitely am interested in your thoughts around that. But one thing I wanted to note that Ethan and I did, I think it's over 20 years ago, Ethan, if you remember this, Crocky we were up north in Northern Territory, and Crocky decided he was going to jump off this gigantic cliff into what was known to have crocs in it. And he kept climbing higher and higher. And I was like, no, don't do it. He ends up jumping.
I couldn't find a good place to jump.
No. So he jumps, and it was pretty high enough that when he lands feet first, and it messes up his back. So he's stuck in bed for a long time. He has a messed up back. But what ends up happening is, we're young, and so I'm still working out, and he is, sleeping all day. So he ends up gaining lots of weight. And we end up just walking through a mall one time, and we did a small experiment. You remember this, Crocky? Where we were noticing that Ethan on one side, if he had this little gut, he was getting more looks than me without a gut. So we're like, wait a minute. So then
I had a man bod.
Yeah. So then we were like, man, I wonder if dad bods are like attractive because they're kind of, in the realm of like, oh, I can keep that guy or something. So then we did it again where we both went with dad bods, and you would just get looks constantly. It was like constant. And then when you go without, you didn't. So small experiment, But we did notice that, there is something to do with the body, but excessive weight may not be the one.
Yeah, well, there is some to it, right? So one thing to know is a lot of really heavy set guys will say, I have a dad bod. No, bro, you're fat. Okay. A dad bod, if you looked at the original definition of a dad bod, it was a guy who was in somewhat shape. He just had a little bit extra, like maybe he goes to the gym, but he enjoys a slice of pizza or two now and then, right? And that's what a real dad bod is. And the thing is about that is women do find that a little bit more approachable. They do find that as, I don't have to try as hard anymore and look good. And so I can relax and I don't have to put in the effort now. That's what it really comes down to, especially for women over 30. They're like, oh, I just want to let myself go. I've been trying so hard, trying to keep this body going. And it's, hormones are kicking in. I'm getting older. It's getting harder to keep the weight off. Boy, it would be good to just settle down with a guy who doesn't give a shit about himself anymore. Right. And so that's the appeal of
the mothers and grandmothers that were looking at us.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
But you know what?
The older women.
You know what? And guys with dad bods get women, right? They get women. But the thing is that women aren't having all these mad, crazy sexual fantasies about guys like that. They're having sexual fantasies about like Chris Evans and, what's his name? The guy who played Thor and, Jason Momoa and stuff like that. Like they're fantasizing about big buff guys like that, but they also don't want to put the work in themselves to get a guy like that. So they're like, yeah, I'll fantasize about Jason Momoa, but I'll be with, schlub guy over here that likes pizza. Right.
Rob Schneider.
So it helps them settle to
It's funny.
Yeah.
As much as they want to put into it, I say.
That's really what comes down to.
And what it's security, Joe. That was your point before, is that, the women, especially the ones that want to be exclusive, they're worried about competition from other women.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a dad bod gives them a little bit more security in that regard.
Yeah, and I've done lots of videos about that too, right? Where women, when they see that you're getting too attractive, they'll try to sabotage it. They'll try to feed you more cookies. They'll try to feed you extra rice, right? Because they're trying to plump you up so that you're not as attractive to other women. But it's also more so that she doesn't have to put the work in herself, right? And so, but the thing is,
sometimes it's success too. It's not just. Sometimes it's success as well, right? So it's not just fatten you up. It's just success can be attractive. And so if the partner thinks that you're going to be successful and that's going to give you more attraction, then they'll sabotage that as well.
Yeah, they'll often do that too. But the specifically with them giving you extra food and shoving you up a little bit, now all of a sudden they don't want to have sex with you that much either, because now you're really not that attractive to them in the, with your clothes off in the bedroom. And so that's where a lot of the times guys will go into dead bedrooms because they've let themselves go, and she's helped him along the way, and now she's not attracted to him anymore. And so a lot of the things that I teach guys when they're trying to fix their dead bedroom situation is, you got to lose that weight, man. You got to start becoming an attractive guy again. Not just for your wife. You need to be so attractive that she sees other girls looking at you. Because that pre-selection is going to kick in, that competition anxiety is going to kick in. And that's one of the things that sparks that attraction again, is like, oh crap, I might lose this guy. Oh my God, this guy might sleep with other women. I better start sleeping with them so he doesn't sleep around, right? And all that kind of stuff starts going back in that direction and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I did love your take on that, because now there's so much talk of anxiety and everybody having anxiety, and you actually embraced it and said, yeah, you need all this anxiety to basically post around within this relationship to create a little bit of friction.
Yeah,
right?
It's a healthy level of anxiety.
Kind of
Yeah. Yeah, and I in my early days of making videos, I used to say that, like, you want to spark healthy anxiety in women, and oh my God, just the vitriol of even using the word anxiety, it sounds so bad. So now I call it heat.
Traumatizing.
I call it heat, right? It's healthy emotional anticipation and tension. Oh, well, that sounds
nice
pleasant,
acronym.
right? Sexual tension. That sounds
sounds
what the
hot.
fuck do you think it is? It's anxiety, right? That's what sexual
Right.
tension is, right? It's a little bit of anxiety, anticipation. It's palpable, like you could feel it, right? And so you're trying to induce that again in your girl, and that's really what it comes down to.
Now, another thing you talked about, I mean, there's some balance and divide that is happening in our country. More women are going to school, and not just that they are going to school by larger numbers, but they now outnumber men who are going to school and getting degrees. And that matches with income. So they are oftentimes the breadwinner. Our last show or a couple shows ago, we had the data that if you have a college degree, you most likely look for a man with a college degree. And the marry rates for that are still staying the same. However, men without a college degree and women without a college degree are really the largest group in the country and are not getting together. They're staying very separate. The longer they stay separate, the more polar they are politically. And they're finding more and more things that they are not in common. And I couldn't help but correlate that unscientifically with the fact that the porn industry, I was blown away at how big it is. 172 billion. Mind-boggling. And then it's projected to be 250 billion by 2030. And I saw this meme. It's death, death with his scythe, and he's walking along, and the meme has, in the front of his black cape, it says porn. And he's walking through, there's all these doors that he's, walking by and that he's already gone into. And so the one in the back is like books, and, it's all bloody, and he's walked out of there. And then the next one was like cable TV. He's already gone through there. And this the internet, and he's already gone through there. And the next one is AI, and he's about to walk into, that. And I can only see where this grows. I mean, I don't see how we end up getting these people together. I mean, a big focus in this show that Ethan and I talk about is really population decline. And if you can't get people together, you definitely cannot procreate and make more humans. And so it is one of those things. How do you think we get this group to get together? Let's say they get themselves in shape, but they still have an income, variance. Is that how involved is income in trying to win some of these ladies and really the dating scene? I know Ethan and I were just talking about how he hits on Tinder. I'm totally out of this loop, but my son, I have two sons. One of them's got a girlfriend though, but the other one is I was trying to give him dating advice. This came up in this very thing. It's like, how do you basically do this in this century?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the population problem thing. I mean, as a red pill guy, I don't give a shit. It's not my problem. It's that's other people's problems. I already have my kids. I already did my job. I'm done. But as far as money, like that's a good question, right? How prominent is money when it comes to women? And a lot of guys would think it's very important because women only care about money. Like a lot of guys think that it's not about money at all. Really, when it comes to attraction, what women find attractive about guys who tend to have money are the traits that it takes to acquire resources, right? So guys who are ambitious, guys who are confident, guys who are a little bit of assertive, those guys by and large are able to acquire resources, and women find those traits attractive. And so one of the things that I would do when I was out dating to really weed out the gold diggers, because my ex-wife was a total gold digger, right? One of the things I would do, because I was a high six-figure earner when I was a wage slave, right? I was making really good money when I was out dating, but I didn't want to lead with that because right after the divorce, a part of my floundering on the dating circuit was I was leading with that. I was trying to impress women with these fancy dates and taking them on trips and all this kind of crap, right? And I was just getting used. And so the second time around on the dating circuit, I would keep dates low investment. It was drinks only for a first date. And then women, what you'll find is it's been scientifically proven.
Now,
that
do you arrange that in advance? I mean, they're like, we're just going to go to drinks. We're not going to dinner. Is that?
Yeah, I don't ask women what they want to do. I tell them
nice.
what we're
like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hit the bar, then we'll take a walk. Or something.
Yeah. In fact, for first dates, I recommend guys have a go-to place that they take every woman to. That way they don't have to think about it. They run a playbook. They get to know the staff. That builds a little bit of social proof when you know people. And you know the layout, you know how it's going to be. So you've been on this date 1,000 times. She's the only one on the first date.
Now, does this include conversation and flow? I mean, so you're like, okay, we always go to this place. I'm going to hit this table. We're going to order this.
Well, I mean,
Groundhog Day.
I'll order everything the same. I do, but what I'll do is I'll let her do 80% of the talking and only do 20% of the talking. This is classic Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You let them do most of the talking and you just be an active listener. And you don't give very much about yourself away because women love mystery. Women love figuring you out. And if you give yourself away too quickly, they get bored really quickly. So this is one of the things that I learned why I was really pushing women away after a few dates was I was just an open book and I was just telling them everything and leading with my money and just doing
I hate
everything.
my wife. She left me with.
Be honest.
Yeah. So
That's why you can't be honest on that first
date.
date in the relationship, Joe.
That's what Ethan started this with. He's
sides.
like, you got to lie on that first one. You got to
And then
catfish.
You got to give it out at got to give it out at different benchmarks.
Yeah, and so what I would do when women would ask me, what do I do for a living? What do you do, right? Because they're trying to gauge how much you make and stuff. I would say, well, I'm a millionaire playboy by day, but I dress up like a bat and fight crime at night.
Nice.
And they're like, oh, I didn't know I was dating Batman. I'm like, I can trust you, right? I don't have to tell anybody.
Batman.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I learned that because I was spending a lot of time in a men's group. That's where my podcast came out of. It came out of a men's group where we were all studying game and we were studying.
All the girls love Batman.
Well, they don't. Yeah, chicks love Batman. Yeah. So, but one of the guys in there, one of my 3% brothers, he came up with this concept of Batman game where you would just tell women that, like, hey, I'm out fighting crime and stuff, and you never really give them a straight answer. And when they try to push for it, you say, what I do is boring. Tell me more about you. And you just turn it back on them and keep them talking. And you never really told them anything. And the thing is that when women are talking, they think that you're the greatest communicator in the world if you're just listening to them. And so you just let them talk, and women love to talk. So you just let them. And then by the end of the date, she realizes she doesn't know anything about you. And now she can't stop thinking about you. Now she's internet stalking you, trying to figure you out. And if a woman's doing that, who's she thinking about? She's thinking about you. And that just builds more attraction. And so the more of a mystery you can create when talking with these women, the more drawn in they are.
So much game theory.
Well, it works. Yeah. There's a reason why it's called a theory, right? It's because you have a hypothesis, you've tested it, and you can't disprove it. So you raise it to a theory, right? So it actually works very well.
Well, I think because I'm not in the dating scene, but I studied economics. I love game theory. And I use the same thing as far as, whether I was a VC trying to invest in a company or now trying to raise money from investors. It's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, did I talk too much? How do I approach them? Where's our first date going to be? I mean, it's the exact same process, just trying to date and harbor a relationship and kind of grow inside.
Well, I didn't realize how much dating is very much like sales until I started studying Coach Corey Wayne's work. Because Corey Wayne used to do real estate type sales and stuff like that. And so he was really applying a lot of sales theory in dating, and it works great. Stuff like who's ever the one asking the questions is the one leading the conversation, stuff like that. We were doing that a lot while we were out dating. And but the thing is that mystery, even when you're in a long-term relationship, it still creates attraction. So like if you're married or if you're in a long-term relationship, it's good to, just plan a mystery date with your girl every once in a while and just be like, hey, Saturday night, I made plans. This is the outfit I want you to wear. And she'll be like, where are we going? You're like, well, that's for me to know and you to find out. And they just are dying with this anticipation all week, trying to figure out where you're going to take them to. And when you finally take them there, it's just this release of like emotions and stuff. It's a fun thing to do. I like to do that with my girl periodically.
That's a great tip for kind of long term. So after the first one, you have your first date, you have a pattern kind of a process. You know what you're going to do, you know what to expect. And so you don't have any waves. How do you slowly let out the crazy as far as going through the next dates? And, when do you find, is it date 3, 4, 5? When do you say this is serious? And then now you step into what you just talked about, which is sort of how do you make this last 5 years?
Yeah, so it's like clockwork. It really is. So first dates, I would treat it like a chemistry test just to see if I liked her or not. And a lot of guys are trying to get girls to like them. They're trying to qualify to girls. If you change that around and you make it where they have to qualify to you. It's a totally different experience, you know?
So
And
do you have qualifier questions? Do you have things where you're like, okay, this isn't going anywhere?
well, you can just tell just by, if you have to pry a conversation.
You work
out of
on a
somebody-
farm. Do you work on a farm?
Right. No, you can tell those girls. Those girls, they have a certain look.
Oh,
about
you
them.
work on a farm, don't you?
Yeah. No, you can just tell by, asking them questions. I would have a few go-to questions that just to get the ball rolling. And then once they started talking, you just pick out little things and make assumptions and tease them a little bit about what they're saying and ask them more questions about, ask them to go into detail on that. Oh, explain to me that, and just really take a genuine interest in what they're saying. And the way I would do it, right, is so the first date was always, I had two go-to places. In Grand Junction, it was the Feisty Pint, and in Montrose, it was the Horsefly. And so if let's say we're going to the Feisty Pint, we would go there, we'd have maybe one or two drinks. If I liked her, then I'd say, hey, let's get out of here. Let's go find a change of venue. And we would walk down the street and go to the Blue Moon. And it was just, and there's some psychology with that, right? Because on a first, let me back up a little bit.
It's taken of the second date.
Women will sleep with you by the second or third date on average. And so if you take them to a second venue, psychologically, it feels like a 2 dates in one experience. So you're speeding that process up.
I see. So if you bar hop, you could speed the night along.
Yeah, because to her, she's spent time with you at one venue and at another venue. It's 2 dates to her. And
So are we at lunch? Is it lunch drink?
It's always drinks because if you go for lunch, if you go to coffee, that puts out a friend vibe. If you want her to be your lover, you take her to do what lovers do, like drinks in the evening. It's more of a romantic type experience, right? So I would take her to a second venue. And then on a second date, what I would usually do is invite them out for like mini golf. And then we would meet up for mini golf and I would challenge them to a game of distraction mini golf. And that's where when she's putting, I can do whatever I want to distract her. And when I'm putting, she can do whatever she wants to distract me. And you'll find that when you give women permission, then they know that their primary agency is their sexuality, and they will start doing all sorts of dirty stuff. Like they'll come up and they'll grab your crotch, right? They'll come up and they'll like lick your earlobe or something. And that breaks the touch barrier. And this now gives you permission to start breaking the touch barrier. And so you start doing a little 2 steps forward, 1 step back, where you go in a little bit and you touch her and maybe kiss her or whatever. Anyway, by the time you're done with the date, now you can say, well, let's go grab some drinks or something, right? So you go to a place, grab some drinks. And then what I would do is I would challenge her to a game of Jenga back at my place. Hey, you up for a challenge? You're like, yeah, well, I challenge you to a game of Jenga. You want to get out of here? I got a bottle of wine at my house. Oh yeah, I'd love to. And women need some plausible deniability when it comes to going back to a guy's house, right? Hey, you want to see my goldfish? You want to pet my dog? You want to play a game of Jenga?
Want a coffee?
They need an innocent reason to go to your place. And so you need to give that to them so that they can tell their friends, oh, I don't know what happened. One thing led to another. It's, this guy is just so smooth or something. But really, they just need an excuse. And they don't want to be judged by anybody, right? So they're very big on reputation protection. So you just give them that out and they'll come back to your place and you have them in bed by the second date, at least, third date at most. And if you can't close the deal by the third date, you're just wasting your time anyway. And then you cut them loose. So that's how it would go. And then as far as relationships go, one of the big problems I learned was that I was the one always pushing for a relationship. I was always trying to lock these girls down, trying to say, so are you seeing anybody? Because I'm not seeing anybody. Like, should we put a label on this? And that's just unattractive to women. And you're not using their hypergamous nature to your advantage. And so what I found was women, because of Breifeldt's law, they have to lock you down. They have to be the one that tries to get you into the exclusive relationship. So your job is really to just spin plates, have fun, hook up with random girls until you find ones that have so much interest in you that they want to try to make things exclusive. And usually that will come up with, so where's this going? Where are we going? What, are you seeing anybody? And they'll do that kind of thing. And that will happen by the 7th or 8th date on average, assuming that you're only seeing them like once a week in the beginning.
I love to listen to this second date update, and it's like ghosting seems to be the standard of what the dating world is now. Is that the proper way, or do you have a formal kind of it's not me, it's you?
An email process.
The phone call. You're like, listen, I'm in Denver. I filed the papers.
Yeah.
It's a
Go to hell.
pre-recorded message, right? Is it pre-recorded?
No,
message?
I think ghosting's acceptable when you haven't slept with her yet. You know, it's like she's just not that interested in you. She's really, you're trying to make something happen and she's just very lackluster and you're like, yeah, I'm wasting my time here. It's good to just ghost a chick like that. That's fine. But I personally, I'm kind of, I still have a little bit of, a heart in me. I don't like letting all these girls down, and I try to leave these women better than I found them. And so if I've slept with a girl, I think if I'm going to cut them loose, that deserves an in-person conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I would meet them up and say, hey, look, this isn't working.
So this
out.
is where coffee comes in. You're like, listen.
Yeah, coffee would be perfect for that. Yeah, public place, so she can't stab you. There's witnesses. Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, as far as just ghosting, like if you've slept with a girl and then all of a sudden you just ghost her, what a terrible thing to do to somebody. I would hate to, golden rule type thing. I would hate to have someone do that to me, so I wouldn't do that to anyone else, But, each their own, I guess. Dr. Robert Glover used to say that he's one of my mentors in the space. He would say a lot of guys do breakups in the suicide by cop method, where they just start acting so bad to get her to break up with them. He's like, this is like the Ben Affleck method of breaking up with girls, where you just like, you're like, you know what, I'm going to get caught seeing hookers in Vegas, and that's how I'm going to end things. Like,
nice.
That's kind of a cowardly way of doing things, in my opinion.
That'll do it.
Yeah. That's the Ethan style. Instagram. That's like the post.
That's a quick exit. And breaking.
So what about long term? You've gone to date 8 and you're like, all right, this is pretty serious. And how do you keep things interesting? You gave one idea. You said be spontaneous, come up with something every once in a while that keeps them on their toes and builds that anticipation. Anything else for long term? I mean, 5 years is a good count. How do you, how have you turned her from the 8th date to now 5 years and still keep that magic?
I just did a whole podcast episode about this. It was called Why You Should Bang Your Girl in the Back of Your Truck. And I literally did that after a date I had with her. She invited me to, I think it was like her company Christmas party. And we went out, we went to her company Christmas party. We ate dinner there. And then as we were leaving, we got in my truck, and I just said, you know what? I've never been out by the airport over here. And there's like a really small, Cessna airfield out in the middle of nowhere over here. And she's like, oh, okay. And I just took her out back by the, where there's nobody, this out desert area.
She hasn't been heard of since.
And then I was just like, get in the back. And we just, we went at it just like teenagers in the back. I think that kind of spontaneous, random stuff keep things spicy in relationships. We go on trips all the time. We try to, have sex in weird places. Like I doubt he's listening, but we went to go visit my friend in England. One of my 3% brothers lived out there, and he was gone for the day. He was off, I don't know, running errands or something. And so we were in this house, and so we were banging in his back patio and all this kind of stuff. And then like shortly later, like his girlfriend came over, and my girlfriend was like, she's sitting in the chair where you were railing me in there. No. I was like, yeah, it's just a little sort of like thing between us. It's like creating a world where just the two of you are in it. It's just what you're trying to do, and that's a big part of staying playful and
Does she have kids?
She does have kids, yeah. And we keep kids separately. I'm a big proponent of not mixing the kids together and doing the Brady Bunch thing.
Does that? I mean, how do you do that? Is that every other week? Is every other kids or?
Yeah, because because she's divorced, I'm divorced, and we have the same parenting schedule. So I have my kids the same week she has her kids.
Oh wow!
And so it's pretty easy. And then on the weeks that we don't have kids, she comes over and she stays here all week. So she just left, about an hour ago.
Oh, I see. So at separate houses, you got the kids. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. It is hard in a world now. You are out in the country. I mean, technology has changed a lot to make things in a sense, where now you could literally try to find, you could look on a dating site and find someone in Shanghai and Brazil all in the same chat. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to, connect. And more people you're virtually doing it. So sadly, now in the city, you can have two people who live right next to each other, and they are only going to meet someone in chat. But how do you ultimately fix that based on geography and technology? I mean, how do you recommend or see people basically turning something that is just online dating to actually going and meeting in person?
Well, I mean, that was my big thing because I live out in the middle of nowhere. And so meeting people organically in person was impossible. And in fact, the area I live in is largely a retirement area. So even if I did go out, it's old grandmas and stuff out here. There's not like young, viable dating age women. And so I had to get good at online dating. That was it. And so, and that's the thing is like, yeah, modern day, something like 70% of relationships all start online now. So,
Right.
But the big thing is that a lot of guys are really too chicken shit to actually set up a date and actually meet in person. So what they do is they waste a lot of these girls' time chatting for days and weeks on end, trying to build up rapport and trying to build up the courage to ask this girl out. And they're always like, well, what do you want to go do? And women, like I said, are terrible at making decisions. So women are like, I don't know, pick a place, right? And these guys are like, I don't want to pick a place because I might pick the wrong place and then you might not like me. And then they're all babies about it. So that doesn't happen. So when you get good at online dating, you find that you cut the shit, you set a date, you get to the date quickly, and then you get off the app as quickly as you can. So you're only bantering maybe, 10 messages, 15 messages max before you find a segue to say, well, you sound like a cool chick. When are you free to get together? And then you'll get more closes that way. You'll actually get more dates when you do that sort of thing. And another thing that I teach guys is how to use social media, how to use Facebook, how to use Instagram to meet women that you actually want. Because a lot of the dating apps, you get the bottom of the barrel,
I do.
Uh-oh, I hear a kid back there somewhere.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Ethan's already got his ladies.
my babysitter had to leave, so I've got my daughter here.
You need to teach your daughter how to be a professional podcaster, Ethan.
We're not pro yet. We're thinking about going pro, right,
That's
Joe?
right. That's right.
My dog, who passed away earlier this year, she used to sit here next to me during every podcast, just silent. And then every once in a while, she would like shake her collar or something. And I would, in the middle of, and my episodes are all live, right? So I would be like, hey, what are you doing down there? You're supposed to be a professional podcaster, So yeah.
It wouldn't go with the comment. It wouldn't be like, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, with that, with young people and trying to get different groups together, leave us off with some advice of what you would say in general for people to try to keep a long-term relationship.
Yeah, well, I will say this. If you're a man and you want to really have the best chance you can at a long-term relationship, nothing's guaranteed. There's no guarantees. And that's a big thing that I think, like Christian tradcons, they want some kind of guarantee that marriage is going to last forever. There's no buffer from the sexual marketplace. So all you got is the best you can do, right? And so what I would say for guys is don't treat your wife like she's your equal partner. Try to run your relationship more like a captain, executive officer dynamic as best you can. Set the tone, take the lead, make decisions, be assertive, and don't let your wife walk all over you. And you'll find out that she actually likes that she can't get the best of you, and that will allow her to feel more safe and secure in your relationship, and you have the best chance of surviving.
You heard it here, folks. Hostile Dysfunction. Great for you to join us today. Paul Bauer, the podcast Come On Man. Give us Fix the Bed. Dead bed.
You can find almost all my stuff if you go to fixdeadbedrooms.com. That's my blog for dead bedroom situations. If you're married or in a long-term relationship and your girl's not banging you anymore, check that out, fixdeadbedrooms.com. You can also find my podcast there. I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
That's great. Really appreciate it, Paul. This has been a lot of fun, and look forward to following you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.